When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the Rewind to Raw with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The 18 that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night. Download it Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's Rewind to Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the mic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind to Raw. John Pollock here alongside Wai Ting. It is, after a long anticipation, the Labor Day edition of Rewind to Raw.
The Labor Day edition, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've asked this before, but is this celebrated in the U.S.? It is, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Labor Day.
It's a huge day.
But they spell it without a U.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it without the U.
Really? Why?
Why do we need the excess letter?
Why do you need any letters? I mean, it's the proper way of using the language.
Who determines this? Somebody
the English.
In the room that said, hey.
The English who created the language.
Well, what are we going to subscribe to? Do we write Ring of Honor with a U? We don't do that.
Well, that's a brand name. Labor Day is, I guess it's in a way, it's a bit of a brand name.
Well, it's a holiday. Should be doing less work. Cut the U out. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
However you want to celebrate. How did you celebrate your Labor Day, Wai?
I went to watch a movie with W.H. Park.
Oh, that's a perfect way to celebrate.
What better way to celebrate any holiday? Yeah, I went to watch Shang-Chi for myself the second time, and for him the first time this morning, or this afternoon actually, a matinee viewing with W.H. Park. It was his first trip to a theater, and I think my second, because it was my second time watching Shang-Chi. And then right afterwards, we had some lunch and then recorded a podcast review, 90 minutes, talking about Shang-Chi and all of our thoughts on it. That will be released tomorrow exclusively for patrons on the Post Wrestling Cafe.
Oh, I'm glad you're going to release it.
Yeah, I was, it was just going to be recorded for our own pleasure, as we all tend to do with our own private recordings, just record them, But no, this one will release.
When you guys got into the theater and you're waiting for the movie to start, did you inform WH of things that don't happen in the movie?
I did not do that. No, we did not engage in that type of dangerous conversation beforehand. That's more of a John Cena WH Park relationship.
How many people were in the theater, roughly?
It wasn't very busy at all. I'm bad at counting, but it was pretty sparse.
You had room. There were not.
Oh yeah, when you buy tickets, at least in Ontario, they actually just close off the seats around you. So it's all assigned seating, and then you're really not that close to other people.
All right. Well, I look forward to your review. Did you find things you missed the first time on your second viewing?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely got a lot out of the second viewing, because you know where they're going, and you can kind of see where they're leading you earlier on in the movie. And of course, knowing, like, you're paying a bit closer attention because you don't have to focus on maybe certain other things. So I definitely got something out of the second viewing.
All right. Well, check that out Tuesday. It's going to be available on the Post Wrestling Cafe. A double dose of MCU later this week. You're going to get that show on Tuesday. And then Thursday, we're winding down on What If with episode 5 this week. So 2 episodes to go.
I think it's 9 episodes this season.
Then forget what I just said.
Yeah. But
lots to come. So
that's there, and then of course we're Rewind to SmackDown and Rampage on Friday, where I will be off.
You're leaving?
Yeah, I'm going to be gone for the whole next week. So
what?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
You didn't get the word? Well, I don't care. I don't give a shit.
I don't have friends. Who's going to come on with me?
Close this place down. I don't. Not my problem.
Oh, okay. Well, you can tune in, folks, and see what's going to happen. Maybe it'll just be John Pollock's soliloquies for an hour. Wax poetic about Raw. We'll find out. Well, I do have Nate Milton joining me on Friday. So Nate, he said he was not too enthused that I'm making him watch SmackDown, but he is excited to watch Rampage. So there you go. That will be. I think SmackDown, like, it's a pretty significant episode this Friday with Brock. You've got a contract signing. It's I was going to say it's not every week you have a contract signing, but it is every week you have a contract signing. And probably going to get some Raw talent on the show.
Yeah, MSG. Maybe a John Cena appearance because we know he is in the building. And of course, on Rampage, you have Pac versus Andrade. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts with Nate Milton. A double dose of Nate Milton. Speaking of double doses.
Yes. So if you are a member of the Post Wrestling Cafe, you will be getting those shows from Way this week. We'll also have shows dropping the live show on Friday night with myself and Nate. We will be live at 11:15 Eastern for all patrons. And then this weekend, I should mention, British Wrestling Experience will be back with Martin and Benno on Thursday. Then this weekend, we've got
the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, the NWA.
There you go, Way. I was teeing it up for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I've had a long day, folks. I went to sleep last night at after 3 a.m, and then I was up at 8:15 this morning, and I've just been going the whole day.
Oh, boy. Well, hope you had your coffee, or multiple of them. But yes, it is the return of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates. It's Chris from Chris Ely. I keep calling him Chris from LA. I don't know if he recognizes that fully or if he wants to be the professor.
He's branded as such. I think it's going to be hard for him to shake that title.
The Professor Chris from LA Ely is going to be on the NWA with Nate Milton, of course, and you might also hear Andrew Thompson speaking about a number of things. So do check that out Sunday evening sometime.
All right. Check out all of that. Another note for those that might be considering joining the Post Wrestling Cafe, our G1 coverage is going to be starting September 18th, where we will be doing cafe shows for the G1 events. So if you are planning to jump on board, the tournament begins September 18th. You might as well sign up now, and then you get your full value for the month rather than waiting till the final 12 days of September.
You might
do
as well.
Do it now. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you might as well.
Are you scared? I dare you to sign up. I don't think you have the guts to sign up.
We're great at marketing. We should be advertising people.
What?
That's a great...
Too scared?
You masters of reverse psychology here. Yeah. Yeah, I bet you can't if you even tried. What do you think?
It's probably too complicated a process for you to figure out. Got to sign in. Got to put in information. It might be a little bit too much for you, but prove us wrong. Sign up, don't sign up. Whatever floats your boat, we're happy with. That is all happening this month. It's a busy month. Way's already on vacation. He's already done.
Oh, I'm gone. I was gone as of 2 a.m. last night.
Dude, after match number 12 tonight, I don't blame you.
I was gone after the first half of the gauntlet before they spread it to the last.
I'm not kidding you. I've been telling you my exercises during Raw. I took 4 breaks during the first hour of Raw.
First hour, eh? Wow.
I went and started listening to music, and suddenly it was 25 minutes of just going through playlists and finding songs that would take me to more songs. Dude, I was just completely wasting time. There was nothing productive being done.
So you started Raw, and then partway through you're just I need a break. So
each commercial break, I just hit pause,
and then
it was 15 minutes each time. And then one extended to 25 minutes.
And the breaks consisted of you just kind of randomly listening to music?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's great. What'd you listen to?
Dude, everyone knows I was a big dance fan back in the day, and I stumbled upon Groove Coverage, which was very, very underrated group.
Man, I've not heard of Groove Coverage. I think your knowledge
I don't think would ever listen to Groove Coverage.
Your knowledge of that era is I think you are the Damian Abraham of 90s kind of that type of I don't even know what you call that type of dance music.
Well, I don't know what the official status would be. My all-time favorite is MJ. Who she had a series of hits. She had Flying to the Moon was a big one that she did, and was just a massive favorite of mine. And dude, she is playing here in Toronto next month.
Damn. Wow.
On the same bill, I'm not even making this up, as Aqua. And
of course.
I don't think I can go though. It's the night.
Oh, are you kidding me? So Aqua. I think listeners.
I don't want to see Aqua. Like I'm beyond done with Aqua. The second performance of theirs was just. Come on. It was a real big letdown. It was like you go to a restaurant that you've heard about forever, and it's a great time, but you don't want to go there again. And that's what me and my friends all learned. Going that second time, it just was not the same. I don't need to do it the third time.
I mean, well, the last time you went was, I'm assuming, pre-pandemic. You know,
no way. In the midst of the pandemic, Aqua came here, and we said, you know what? Fuck COVID. Let's go see Aqua. That would be the one to risk it for. No, it was a few months before the pandemic because it was still like warm out. So I imagine it was like,
last year. Wow.
It was like 2019.
Okay. Well, listen. You got to live. That's what we've learned, everybody. You know, we've been cooped up here, not knowing when is the next time you're gonna get to see Aqua after this. You may never get to see Aqua again.
Well, it's not Aqua. Aqua is not pulling me in the direction of this. MJ is, but it is
all the more reason.
I feel she's very low on the list, though. I think if I went there, it would be like 20 minutes of MJ, and it's like, is this worth it? I mean, Nick Diaz is fighting that night. I do have an intrigue in seeing Nick Diaz fight.
Well, what's it going to take? You know, what's that extra? What is it? Groove explosion? If they added the groove explosion on the bill,
you know what I'm looking. I'm looking for someone in Vaughan to stream this on their phone and post it on YouTube. That's what I'm looking for, and I'll watch it on YouTube. That would be wonderful. If anyone is listening to this, and I say that in jest because the last time I went to this concert, I ran into no less than like three listeners who came up to me. So there might be a chance that someone listening to this is going to go. If you can record this on your phone, just email me MJ set.
I think that's
Way's going to send you a T-shirt. He's going to send you a post-wrestling package.
I don't think you should be soliciting illegal activity.
Is this illegal to just record a live performance of MJ?
Of course it is. Yes, of course
MJ?
it is.
Dude, she probably would be honored.
So can I bring should I have brought my video camera to the screening of the movie today to record it so that you could see it because you didn't want to go?
This is like an outdoor music festival. I don't even know if there's like a hard and fast rule to this.
Of course there is. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's probably says on the back of the same tickets that WWE prints their tickets on. No video recording allowed.
Well, you know what? Way, sometimes you got to live.
Listen, if you care about this, if you care about Aqua, don't you think they're hurting? Don't you think Klaus and Sven, they've been hurting over the past year?
No, probably not. They did fantastic their last. Dude, Toronto has come out for Aqua every time that they've run this city. They're running it for the third time in like 3 years.
I know, and they missed out on last year's big payday. So what do you think their 2020 has been like? You know, don't you want to support these
what if I buy a ticket?
Artists?
If I buy a ticket but don't go, can I then be afforded a recording to record this for me? Would you let me off the hook then, or would you call the police on me?
I mean, honestly, if you message MJ, I'm sure she would actually respond because I don't know how many people are DMing MJ. So you can ask, I guess.
I would interview her.
All right, do it up. Give her a call.
So that's coming up in September. Tonight we have some news items to discuss. Way, the fallout from All Out. How do you feel 24 hours later about this show?
Very positive. I mean, I think it says something when usually we get like, any sort of AEW success is usually followed by a lot of celebration from AEW fans and then a great deal of detraction and a great deal of, I think, criticism from non-AEW fans. And I'm not seeing any of that. If there is, it is so minimal that it's not even catching my radar. Even like the AEW, like the people who hate it when AEW like has any sort of like cause for celebration, I feel like even they have nothing to say about last night.
I've seen some stupid comments, but I mean that's pro wrestling. That's anything in 2021.
What possibly could the comments have been?
I've seen that the Young Bucks match actually wasn't good. The typical it's just WWE guys. It's like it's laughable. It's it comes with the territory. Like I don't know why people even put stock in it. I mean, it was about as universally well received a show as you are going to find, and I think the cage match was the match that people were just gushing over. I think that when you're seriously looking this year at the candidates, and I was thinking about this today about the biggest matches this year, that is certainly on the short list that I would put with Okada and Ospreay from Wrestle Kingdom, the Shingo Will Ospreay match that was just outstanding back in April, the Utami Hayashishita match with Syuri, which I watched the second one today.
How was it?
Very good. It was so weird to watch that here is this, like, since this Grand Prix was announced, like, that is the match, at least for me, that I immediately circled September 4th, that this is the big rematch. And it was announced like 2 months ago, month and a half ago. And here it is. And it's this match of the year contender. And it's here in front of 300 people in just, it was just like such a bizarre environment to be watching it in. But man, it was one of those matches where the bell rings. I was like, how was that 20 minutes? That's how fast it went. But it was, Utami working back and Syuri just showcasing her kicks, which were just phenomenal in this. And it ends with Utami just having this fiery comeback with these rolling Germans as the time expires. So I didn't think that this was at the level of the first match, but it was a pretty solid 20-minute draw that just keeps the stalemate between the two. And I hope when they do the eventual rematch, that it's on kind of just a bigger stage. Like, this was part of the tournament, and it was just I don't think it had really the feel of, this gigantic rematch for the company, even though it did headline the show. And, 300 people for Stardom, it's like they will certainly take that attendance figure. It's not a terrible figure for them.
Yeah, it's for that reason that I mean, it makes total sense to me that they would do a draw and not give out that eventual winner until a time when you can fill the fill their arena with a few more people, when they're fully out of the pandemic, when you could headline a show fully with that match. I don't know if they do stipulations at all in Stardom, but something that's able to guarantee a winner perhaps might be interesting. So glad to hear that, at the very least you got 20 minutes of great wrestling between those two.
So I watched most of the post-show scrums that the talent had in AEW, and I just wanted to go through some of these notes, Wai, and get some of your thoughts. Bryan Danielson was there, and my God, this guy, he was extremely, I won't even say diplomatic. I think he, genuinely grateful for his time at WWE, but I think, you could read between the lines here that he just felt that he stated that he has a tremendous relationship with Vince McMahon, but he tends to be overprotective of him. And he is someone that wants to push his limits and challenge himself. And that's what this represents. He very much wants to go to New Japan, but the idea of quarantining for 2 weeks to go over there and do matches when he's got a family is just not possible now. He also very much wants to go to Mexico, but acknowledges that might not be the safest option. So it looks like for the immediate future, he's focused on AEW. And he's just looking at challenging himself, seeing how good these guys are. This is someone that you can certainly see. This is a guy that knows, listen, I'm a fantastic pro wrestler. And now I'm going to go and work with other fantastic pro wrestlers. And I very much believe in myself as a benchmark. He is coming in, I think, with very much not even anything to prove, but just this is him getting to be a full-time professional wrestler once again. Because as he famously said, that in WWE, it's where it all clicked for him was that it's a parody of professional wrestling. And I think now we are going to see Daniel Bryan, who could have several, maybe many quality years ahead of him.
I think back to the time that Bryan had to retire and, some of the follow through from that, seeing glimpses of him dealing with the end of his wrestling career on a Total Bellas, going through bouts of depression because he no longer was able to do the thing that he loved so much, reminds me just exactly how much this guy loves professional wrestling. And when I say loves professional wrestling, I'm assuming it's not simply one style of professional wrestling, which he has been doing for the better part of the past decade plus. And now he gets to explore everything that is out there at a time when those options are, I think, more fruitful than ever. And I am so excited to see what this guy, like, I fully believe everything he says about the WWE and what a great relationship he has. I mean, he noted he has family there, and just maybe imagine some of those difficult conversations at the dinner table with, like, I mean, if they occur at the dinner table, maybe after dinner with, his father-in-law, John Laurinaitis, like, deciding not to sign with the guy that is in charge of getting him to sign. But I'm so excited artistically to see what he is able to create outside of those boundaries, being able to just visit so much that I don't think he has been able to nearly touch. Like, we've seen I think by this point we've seen a very patterned form of Daniel Bryan match. When I think, Bryan Danielson is capable of far, far more. I think he looks at a guy like Jon Moxley as a real template in how much a guy like that can extend himself, how much he can show up, one night doing a GCW match with Matt Cardona, and then the next night facing Minoru Suzuki on an AEW show. Maybe he looks at somebody like Daniel Garcia in the year he's having and wanting to replicate that. This is that
was the match he saw with Darby that he reached out to Tony Khan about. I mean, I think Bryan Danielson is the one that, if this guy shows up anywhere, it will not surprise me. Like, if this guy goes to just do some indie in front of 30 people, it would not shock me. Like, I think he's going to want to do any and all unique ideas that are of creative satisfaction to him.
Completely. And I'm so excited, and we know that this is not a man who is there driven by money at all. He's there driven by creative freedom and I think just expression of his art that he absolutely loves. I'm so excited to see what he does.
And like a very popular figure in WWE, like from people that worked with him behind the scenes. Like, he had a very good relationship with Vince McMahon. Like, he was thought of extremely in high regard in WWE. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be a major asset there. It also looks like they are really encouraging the he's going to kick your fucking head off chant that they have embedded into his theme song that was put up today.
I see. I heard that. I heard the theme song, which has that kind of put in there almost sneakily. Do you think that is a direction from, let's say, I mean, you would assume Tony Khan, would have had to okay it. Do you think that's something he
I mean, Bryan did use the line in the scrum as well. So I think they are directing the audience to chant that. Yes.
Right. Interesting. And that's such a change of direction from Daniel Bryan. Not such a change of direction from the American Dragon, of course. But it's just kind of weird because, like, I kind of look at, this guy as the dad now, who's a kid-friendly character. And he cussed a few times in that scrum. So maybe that's a sign of things to come.
CM Punk came out. He was also with Tony Khan and just reiterated how happy he was. Said that the news that Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole coming to AEW gave him a boner.
Yeah, sure. As it did all of us, I'm sure.
He said wrestling Sting would be a bucket list item. There was actually a great exchange where he was asked about, kind of the role Terry Funk played with like a lot of younger talent. And then Punk basically said, like, yeah, but who here has even gotten to see Terry Funk wrestle? And Dave Meltzer's like, I have. It's like, but I mean, Terry Funk in his prime as world champion. Yeah, I have. It was great. So that was very funny. He compared like this influx of talent to AEW. In Punk's opinion, this is bigger than Nash and Hall going to WCW in 1996, which the jury's out. A year from now, that could be a case if this really does skyrocket AEW. And I cannot overemphasize how big this next month is for AEW, from the big events that they're running, having a spotlight in the New York market as all of this is happening, with your biggest star power to date that's going to entice a lot of media interest during this time. You've also got the fact that Raw is starting next week, going against Monday Night Football. So they've got a handicap going into September. Dynamite is riding an enormous wave of momentum that this is going to be a very big month. This is going to be a very big rest of 2021 going into the next year. And it just seems that, I mean, AEW is loaded with by far their largest star power, and are going in with, it's going to be very interesting just where they are in 30 days from now.
Definitely, yeah. Like comparisons to the Monday Night Wars, I mean, what exactly are your metrics here? Like nobody's really going head to head. AEW's not going to move to Mondays. You're not going to be able to compare that way. And I don't see it reaching.
It's the 18 to 49 battle. Yes. And that's one that Raw should, even with Monday Night Football, have the edge. But we don't know what all these names are going to mean for them and what Dynamite settles in. I would not be jumping to conclusions after this Wednesday's number. We know it's going to be very big this Wednesday. It's what does all of this settle in at, and how close it is. Like they are not going to touch Raw in total viewers, but the fact that Dynamite and Raw could be even within striking distance in that 18 to 49 demo, that's a big coup right there.
Yeah. I'm sure, though, if you ask like Tony Khan, it's like, I'm sure that's a nice metric to be able to brag about, the fact that they're so close, with only 2 years of operation. But ultimately, it's whether or not they can command a greater TV deal when their contracts are due, and how much money that they can get. And if that all plays out, who cares if Raw is doing, much more than you? Like, you're still winning. So ultimately, I'm sure that's the only metric they care about.
And then Adam Cole is the last one I want to talk about here. And my God, this guy is just the most personable individual. Like, he just sits down there. He looked like he was the happiest person in the world to be here in AEW. He went into his contract stuff that it surprised him when he learned that his contract was not up in December. It was up in July. And he ended up signing the short-term extension pretty much because of Kyle O'Reilly, that they were in the midst of this program and he wasn't going to bail on that program, even though he could have. And he could have been in AEW even sooner than this. And unlike Danielson, who conveyed that this was a very tough decision for him to make, Cole made it sound like this was not that hard of a decision, but had nothing bad to say, said he had a very constructive meeting with Vince McMahon. That was a very positive experience. But he felt for a while that this was going to be where he landed. And because of Britt Baker, he's been around this crew a lot and obviously has a history with many of them, and called it an excellent 4-year experience on his time in WWE. Would you call it, Wai, a excellent 4-year experience for an individual that was signed at the age of 28, and what WWE got out of Adam Cole in 4 years? Because when he debuted in 2017, NXT was something different than what it became when it's suddenly on the USA Network.
I think, considering the total picture and considering maybe the varied amount of successes that we've had in NXT, I would overall absolutely say yes, it was still successful for Adam Cole, knowing where he was in the industry before and where he leaves now 4 years later as, I think, a really hot prospect coming out of NXT. You can say in some ways, maybe he was spared a main roster run, because if he was up to, got called up in the main roster maybe 2 years into his WWE contract, and if he didn't get booked well, and if he was stuck on a 205 Live or worse, the 24/7 division, we would not be clamoring for an Adam Cole debut in AEW at the end of this contract like we are right now. He was booked as a top guy pretty much the entire time. He was in NXT, led his own hot stable, and left on top, at least, in the top of the main event, had a very long title reign. So I think if I'm Adam Cole, I'm ultimately quite grateful of the past 4 years.
No, he was, you could argue the MVP of NXT during the USA Network era. Definitely in that grouping that you would associate that with Finn Balor and some others as well. But I do think it's somewhat an indictment of the system that is a concern, that thank God he didn't make it to the main roster, that here is someone that we always talk about WWE and who are these under 30 stars. And you signed a phenomenal one who was pretty much ready when he was signed. Sure, you got a year out of NXT, but he did, once 2019 came around, this was not just get talent ready for the main roster. This was its own thing, and he was a valuable tool. But at the same time, it's like you had 4 years and this guy gave you ages 28 to 32. He never got to the main roster. Like, I think like that is really notable that here was a guy, prime years, you didn't get any main roster time out of him. And at the end of 4 years, this guy who in this scrum said it was my dream since I was 9 years old to be in this company left. I think that's a very telling aspect of these talent to leave the company.
It's a very good point. You know, I mean, Daniel Bryan has very different feelings about it. Of course, he has glowing reviews of his time there. And when you think about it, like, how could he not? He was a guy who, against all odds, like, headlined 2 WrestleManias, main evented 2 WrestleManias. They pushed him to the top and probably paid him very well for it. If you're Adam Cole, you know, chances were that wasn't going to happen for you. And bottom line is that, you know, at the end of his contract, he didn't have, in my opinion, a very serious option for main event level success if he was going to stick with the WWE. To me, like, AEW was really his best chance at this point. So, you know, NXT run, I think, was still successful. You would absolutely consider, but
he was a top guy, top act with the Undisputed Era.
But by this point, there is only one option, and he chose it.
Yeah, Khan said that Cole was the guy that struck fear in him on the NXT side and credited Adam Cole with the 1 week they lost in the demo to NXT, which I give more of that credit to Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler, which was the headliner. But that same show did feature Adam Cole and Finn Balor for the NXT title. So he does deserve some credit for that number. But essentially, Tony Khan was like, that was the biggest piece on the board for NXT, and we took him. Like, that was pretty much, and Tony just said, the Wednesday Night War is now over.
It's an interesting way of reframing maybe that whole conversation. Honestly, I didn't even really think about that. But yeah, like, this is our first true crossover, I suppose. He did bring up a 2.0 as maybe the first NXT defects, but this is the slightly more, I think, relevant one. But yeah, you can definitely have that argument. We now have the top guy from the other show.
So we did mention this last night, but AEW Full Gear has been moved to Saturday, November the 13th. And Tony Khan explained this, that, listen, it's the same night as a Canelo fight. It's the same night as UFC 268. He said, I'm friends with Dana White. Why should we both run head to head with one another? It did not make a whole lot of sense. But like, logistically, this does create issues. So Full Gear is now moving to the 13th. And when asked if it was still in St. Louis, Tony Khan was non-committal about that. So location to be determined. All he said was the November 5th Rampage will be in St. Louis, which was supposed to be the night before. So they're keeping that in St. Louis, but we'll find out where the pay-per-view is. Dude, that day of November the 6th, when I was looking at this, not only was it going to be UFC 268 at Madison Square Garden, we were going to have Full Gear, and Power Struggle was that day.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was going to be a lot. And something was going to have to give, because
that was not all going to happen in one day. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our lives are a bit easier with this moving a week later. Being the Elite today, Adam Cole was resurrected via a seance led by Kenny Omega, and Adam Cole reappeared, and he thought it was 2017.
There we go. Listen, if you want your seance predictions, you listen to Post Wrestling, okay? We will predict who will come back from the dead on a web show any day.
I did not watch the whole episode, but I watched the opening bit, which I found pretty amusing. And the closing, a couple of minutes, were really cool, where they just had the camera on Cole right before he was introduced. Same with Danielson. And then after the pay-per-view, where, I mean, these guys, the Elite members, I mean, it was just like this big family reunion, and they could not hide the emotion of just what they pulled off. And like, what a night for them of, you know, the Bucks, who, like, what a classic that they were part of. And then you get this angle at the end of the night. I am sure there were a lot of people riding a high coming out of that show last night.
Oh my God. I mean, if the fans were feeling the way that we were afterwards, I can't imagine what it was like to be an active participant on that show. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no, it was like we knew that they had to maybe address Adam Cole's return on BTE somehow, and they did it in as I think campy,
It was campy.
amusing fashion as the original Death was. In Reseda, as he died from a poison Monster Energy drink. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I think its audience accepts and loves it for that reason. So, I it was fun. It was amusing.
Last things here. New Japan Strong have added Jake Atlas, Jonathan Gresham, Chris Bay, and Alex Zane to their Philadelphia tapings on October 16th and 17th that already include Will Ospreay, Minoru Suzuki, and Lance Archer. Great additions. I'm very excited to see Jonathan Gresham in that mix.
Yeah, sorry, you read so many names that I couldn't even really process it, but they all sound really great.
And then Tuesday night, NXT, we have the whole lineup here. It'll be Io Shirai and Zoe Stark against Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter for the tag titles. MSK against Lorcan and Birch for the tag titles. Ember Moon versus Kaylee Ray. Carmelo Hayes versus Santos Escobar. Mei Ying makes her in-ring debut. Julius and Brutus Creed of the Diamond Mine make their debut. And the Bachelor and Bachelorette parties for Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis.
All right, cool. That's what we have to look forward to. This is the last taped show before the next.
The last taped one, and next week's the revamp.
Yeah, which they were pushing really hard throughout the night's Raw. Like I felt like we got one of those commercials every other commercial break, and this time they seemed to show a bit of like a teaser of what the arena was going to look like. It almost felt like we looked at blueprints of what that arena was going to look like. And from the look of it, it seems like it's going to be rows and rows and rows of seats surrounding relatively smaller space. But I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing like how they design this thing, because I think they're hyping that a lot.
Yeah, I know like all these changes, that people are going to have under a microscope, but the look of NXT, it needed badly an upgrade, significantly.
Yeah, and I think like they're really hinging, like from the way that they've been dealing with their like big changes throughout the pandemic, and maybe rightfully so. I think they hinge a lot on a show's success based on its presentation and how it looks. And we look to the Thunderdome and its boost in ratings for evidence of that. We look at maybe the return of live crowds and its boost of ratings as evidence of that. And I think that's exactly what they will try to remedy with NXT. And also, like, to me, it's an indicator of how much more integration we might actually see on Raw now with NXT, now that it is maybe under a bit more involvement from Vince McMahon and his team, presumably. But we certainly got way more promotion for that show than usual over the past 2 weeks.
All right, let's get into Raw tonight from the FTX Arena in Miami, Florida. It started off with kind of Saturday night's main event style promos from the teams involved in the Tag Team Turmoil, culminating with AJ and Omos in sync with one another as they said Raw Tag Team Championship.
Yes, they did. Yeah. What? That's the name. That is
it. Yes. These were like 10-second promos that everyone had to cut, but it was a nice start. It just established all the teams off the bat.
Yeah, I always like these. I mean, nothing wrong with them. Give these guys a few seconds to cut their promo. I mean, none of them are really memorable promos, but still, it's got like a nice old school feel to it.
RK Bro came out, and Riddle just did all of his comedy. He proposed they become the Snake and Stallion Express with masks or jackets. He talked about going on a raid. They could drink some ale. He knows Orton doesn't eat carbs. He gets the munchies, and Orton had to play like he's smirking at this goofball as he just went on here. Lashley and MVP came out. They called Randy Orton cowardly for his RKO attack last week and said that they are going to try and enter the Tag Team Turmoil so that Lashley can become a double champion. But in all of this, the champion challenged Orton to a match, and Randy Orton, the challenger, said he would accept it on one condition. I will challenge, but it must be for the championship.
That's a unique way to get there.
Yeah, this was Randy Orton will grant himself a title chance. Well,
I mean, it ultimately required MVP and Lashley to accept, So,
MVP was very over here in Miami, obviously.
oh yes, yes. He even spoke in Spanish, which I thought was like, I mean, a major babyface moment for MVP. But they loved him here. I thought it was a decent opening segment with, I thought, a pretty logical maybe challenge from Lashley and then a logical rebuttal from Orton.
New Day came out, and they have just gone full in on the Hall and Nash motif here. Like Kofi is just verbatim has got Kevin Nash's gear.
Doesn't Woods as well? Like
Woods has like his
Scott
tights, but it's got like the razor blades all over it and stuff.
Oh yeah, okay. So Kofi has like the frills, the little kind of like fringe things.
Yeah, I mean they're the wolf pack.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess that's cool. I just think like, I feel like that's just the easiest like parody in the world, and I'm amazed at whenever like people sell shirts like that, because it's like in Photoshop it takes probably like five minutes to do, and I just think it's so played out by now. But like you can get away with a whole lot. Hey, is your name 3 letters? We can make an NWO parody shirt of it.
So the Tag Team Turmoil started, and this lasted the entire first hour, and we didn't even finish the match. So New Day are starting things off with the Viking Raiders. This first match went 10 minutes. This was like a good match that they had here. The Vikings weakened Kingston, and he rolls to the corner, tags Woods, gets slammed by Eric. Ivar comes off with a splash for a 2 count, and then a Trouble in Paradise is delivered to Ivar, and Woods uses a small package to pin Eric. 10 minutes, 2 seconds as they advance.
Good, fun little match. Yeah, between these two teams. It's they're all great wrestlers.
Jinder Mahal and Veer were next, and Xavier came off the top with what they called a glancing blow as Kingston held Mahal in position and Woods pinned Jinder. Just notable again that once again it is Jinder eating the fall and Veer is the protected one.
Right, interesting. Well, I mean, I guess you've already had your run with Jinder. Maybe Veer is sort of your big project.
Yes, they'll go in that direction. New Day against the Lucha House Party. Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado, it was WrestleMania for them. We've got 4 minutes on Raw. Let's just go out there and tear it up as much as we can. Dude, these guys were just out there to have the greatest 4 minutes that they could possibly have. Metalik hit a splash off the shoulders of Dorado, then did a high cross, and Woods awkwardly gets his knees up. The announcers don't know what the hell happened, so then Matt Riddle informs them what Woods was trying to do, and they conveyed that on commentary.
Helpful.
There was a huge moonsault by Dorado, but Kingston made the save. Dorado then gets tripped from the floor as Woods reverses, swings Grand Metalik, and smashes him into the mat and pins him in 3 minutes and 57 seconds. A fun 4 minutes that the 4 had.
I thought Lucha House Party were really great in this, and I enjoyed the finish. As the match began to progress, of course, and the New Day continued to stay in there, they had to come up with more creative ways to book them to win in desperate kind of barely gotcha types of fashions. So it was good.
Then it was T-Bar and Mace. They got the advantage on Woods forever. Kingston's down on the floor, and then T-Bar hits Feast Your Eyes, or goes for it, and it's countered with a roll-up by Woods in 4:32. So New Day continues to run the gauntlet, but T-Bar and Mace, they are upset, and they beat the hell out of these two before Mustafa Ali and Mansoor come out, and Mansoor is furious. He's going after T-Bar, and Ali's telling him, who cares? Who cares? This is great for us. Ali tries to help, but he gets leveled with a boot. Both men are tossed to the floor, and T-Bar and Mace just destroy everybody. They use the steps, they lawn dart Kofi into the steps, and then Pierce and DeVille come out and warn them as Woods is run into the post, and they announce that the remaining teams will get a recovery period, and will do this match later with 4 teams remaining. So this was intermission in the Tag Team Turmoil.
One of the things that I feel like WWE has excelled at in its modern era is the booking of these gauntlet matches. Like most of the time, they know the formula. You give the person the Iron Man run, and then maybe sometimes you have them win. Even sometimes if you don't have them win, the idea is that they come out of it with Kofi Mania. I mean, look at this. Like this is the guy, right? I didn't I didn't know that they could screw that up even, because I mean, putting a fucking break in between your gauntlet match completely kills that momentum that you've been building up with, like, what is a legitimate act of athleticism. Seeing performers out there for as long as 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes plus, and really kind of takes the impressiveness and, I think, to me, the crowd motivation from seeing these guys win totally away. So I was not a fan.
Yeah, this was a long period. It took me a long time to get through this first hour of Raw, and not so much like a negative against any of the action. It's just, it was kind of like, it did just feel like we were just eating up time in this first hour. And, the story of the New Day going through, I mean, it was a fine story. Did it hook me for an hour? Not really.
Well, you've seen it before, right? It's I don't think there's any real motivation for us to want to see any of these teams win the championship, because, quite frankly, the tag team titles don't mean much.
Nor was this match at all about the babyfaces. Like, the babyfaces here at the end of segment 1 get murdered, and then they come back, and this whole turmoil, it was about the two heel teams making it to the end, and the New Day were kind of just cannon fodder for the end.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they were there to carry the crowd's interest, to give them a fan favorite to want to see win, and then they took that away so that we could focus on the real people.
But I mean, some stuff here that was like, the Lucha House Party one was fun. I think the Viking Raiders, that was like your best match, and it also got the most time of any of these first iterations of the turmoil, which would continue later in the night. But we move on to Drew McIntyre against Sheamus. Winner will go on to challenge Damian Priest at Extreme Rules for the United States Championship. These two just had another in their great series of matches. I thought this was the best thing on the show, which Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in their different versions, these two have been like the glue on Raw this year. And whatever they are put in, it typically delivers.
Yeah, glue. Interesting. Glue. I wouldn't necessarily think of them as glue. But yeah, no, they're great. They're good. They're very good. They're very entertaining.
It was a very physical match. Sheamus delivered this superplex, and the crowd's with this and they have just sat through like a lot of wrestling in this first hour with the Tag Team Turmoil, but this was a really great crowd in Miami. Sheamus tries the countdown for the brogue kick, but is stopped, hit with the Future Shock. Drew then sends Sheamus into the corner, and he uses a Kimura. Sheamus gets to the rope, hits a high knee on Drew. Drew comes back, and he uses white noise, tears off Sheamus's mask, and kicks him. Crowd is really hot at this point. Goes for the Claymore, but Sheamus sidesteps, rolls up Drew, hooking the tights, and catches him in 14 minutes and 49 seconds. So Drew McIntyre loses yet again. And afterwards, Drew is holding the face mask, and he just clobbers Sheamus over the head with this thing. Just smacked him right in the head with this mask.
Bit of a sore loser.
Well, they kind of played it up like Drew is getting very frustrated by these losses. And I mean, you could see this as, Drew getting set to jump to SmackDown. But it does seem like they're getting to that point with Drew. And I really thought they were just going to go in the direction and do another Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre match after that got off so well last week. But, Sheamus was the protected one last week. And I guess that is the program for Priest.
Yeah, I suppose so. So, I mean, they do kind of look at this as like somebody leaving the territory he should like job several times on his way out, even though like it's the same company.
It's always been that way with WWE. I mean, it does not make a whole lot of sense, but that is the thinking. And it's also in an era where I don't know how much stock people even put into this, but
yeah, it's true. The moment he shows up on SmackDown, and if he gets booked seriously on SmackDown, like, yeah, I'll probably have forgotten all of these losses. But it was a really good match between these two. They just have excellent chemistry with each other. They aren't afraid to hit each other a little harder than average. great intensity, really great transitions between these sequences. So if you are looking for your wrestling on Monday nights, I would definitely recommend this one.
Yeah, very, very good match from the two. Damian Priest is interviewed and says, that was a fight. And I know something about fights because I've probably been in them. And he gives a shout-out way to his fans who are now the agents of infamy.
The AOM.
The AII.
Oh, AOI. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Or AO.
English is
yeah.
AOI. Shit.
I have it.
It's been it's late, everybody.
It's a day. The agents of infamy.
Agents of infamy. Are you an agent? I'm a double. We're double agents.
Undercover agent of infamy. He's got Sheamus's number.
Where are all my agents at?
He's got Sheamus's number, and Sheamus is going to hear those sweet sounds. And still, United States champion. Dude, just let this guy be. Do not do this to him. He is one guy that I really can see breaking through. Do not do this. This promo is everything I don't want to see. These baby faces have to be saddled with this agent. He can't be fans. We've got to brand them. And hey, you've got to be the cool, tough guy, but it's going to sound completely ingenuine. It's not a word. Disingenuous. I did not like this promo at all. It's just the Achilles heel of these baby faces that have to talk like this and sound so aggravating.
This is, I mean, the sometimes the young lions have like their dojo system to have to go through. Like they're limited in what they can do. They're limited in the look. They got to shave their head. This is the dojo process for the WWE. You have to spend the first several years of your career going through these terribly scripted promos live on TV. And if you can survive that, if Vince still likes you at the end, if the audience still likes you after that, then maybe you can get a bit of leeway to craft your own promos and create your own identity. So this is year one of Damian Priest.
Yeah, it's the long game for Karrion Kross and Ricochet and all these guys. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash are preparing, and Sarah Schreiber notes that they are an unlikely tag team. Two forces that have come together, but they're on different pages. How is this going to work? How will they coexist? Nikki says, I don't want to fly to any conclusions, but we don't have a lot in common, but we're working on it. And maybe, and Rhea goes, it's time to unleash super brutality. I would repeat my rant I just gave a minute ago, but you can rewind. I just want to give an update, folks, that Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash joined the likes of RK Bro, Ali and Mansoor, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as our tag teams that just cannot get along with one another. What is it that can they overcome this and find some success together? How many teams do we have like this? There's 5 I just rattled off there.
Well, relationships are complicated, and sometimes, you don't always get along on road to success. But clearly, this is the path to success. You find somebody that you absolutely despise, you can't, share a dinner with, and somehow in your growth, in your spiritual growth of a connection together, you might actually get some airtime and win some championships.
It's a great lesson because Natalya and Tamina are very close. They're very close friends, and they lose every non-title match. They are very unsuccessful by getting along.
And we never see them on TV. So evidently conflict is what's the only thing that's interesting. And so those are the only teams that ever get shown.
Horrible advice here for friendships to foster and grow. Sarah Schreiber meets with Charlotte. She's still standing after last week, and she will do anything to keep her title. Nia Jax will bow down. Tamina and Natalya versus Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley. Nikki Ash was wearing an armband for Daphne.
Yes, she was. Yeah, very nice tribute.
Tamina misses a seated splash on Nikki, and then Ripley tosses Nikki at Tamina. It's kind of like Nikki was like this weapon that Rhea could just toss around. Tag is made to Ripley after the break. Nikki hits a high cross. Tamina was a bit late to make the save. And then Natalya does not see the tag. She goes for the sharpshooter on Nikki, but Rhea comes from behind, hits her with the riptide, and pins Natalya in 9:30, and Nikki celebrates, jumping into the arms of Ripley. So Tamina and Natalya, they have programs for weeks and weeks and weeks now.
If they choose to follow through, I mean, I feel like the number of people that are owed title shots is growing by the week. Shotzi and Knox still on deck, aren't they?
They got to take a number.
Didn't they earn their title shots twice?
3 times they beat them.
But didn't they just win another contenders match or something?
Sure. Which was the one where Shotzi came out and shot the...
That was not a match.
Oh, okay. There was the one where Tamina got rolled up after the Nerf thing hit her. Remember that match?
Okay, so... this is ridiculous. Okay, so in July 16th of 2021 on SmackDown, Shotzi and Knox defeated Natalya and Tamina in a contenders match for the women's tag team titles.
Okay.
In August 20th, 2021, they again defeated Natalya and Tamina in a contenders match for the women's tag team titles. So they have officially earned 2 title shots and haven't been on TV.
And then they had the other win was that debut that they made, which was not a champions contenders match. That was just a normal match.
They've beaten the tag team champions 3 times. And they haven't been on the past 2 editions of SmackDown, so I think they're gonna have to earn a 3rd shot.
Momentum is important in this company, and they don't know how to capitalize on it.
This is ridiculous. They've earned 2 title shots, and they just have no follow through at all.
Moist TV. This was backstage. They didn't want to put this in front of the crowd, and John Morrison, his fans are the Aquaholics. Which I've been around. They are a real thing. I don't know if they're going to show up, though, in a couple of weeks.
Playing with MJ.
He says that Karrion Kross has made quite the splash here on Raw. I guess a belly flop is a splash. Kross wants to make people's worst dreams a reality and plans to make John Morrison suffer and eliminate him from existence. John Morrison says, "I've been in this game for 2 decades, and I'm still 3 decades ahead of you. Burn. I'm old. I'm really old."
Wait a second. So what does that mean?
I have no idea what this means.
I've been
in this game for 2 decades, and I'm still 3 decades ahead of you.
Okay, so I've been here for 20 years, and I'm 30 years ahead of you? So I guess he means when he started, he was already 10 years ahead?
Well...
10 years of seniority.
He's been in this company. Well, he started in this company in 2003. He won Tough Enough.
Yeah.
So that's 18 years.
That's about 20.
He tacks on another 10. He gets a bonus 10 years because of seniority.
Well, what does that grant you? What is 10 extra? What does 30 decades just tells me that your time is almost up? Buddy.
Well, part of it, he went to Lucha Underground, and there they can do time travel. So that's where Johnny Mundo, he was only there for a few seasons, but in actuality, it adds on 10 years.
But when did Karrion Kross start his career? Probably at least 10 years, right?
I don't think so.
He's like a 10-year guy? 8 years?
Sure, go in that ballpark.
Okay, whatever. I'm done with this stupid bit.
7 years. We weren't too far off.
So you round up the same way he did. He rounded up from 18 to 30.
So Morrison, with his decades of experience, notes all the people he's been in the ring with, including DX, the cool members of DX.
That's pretty funny.
He did not enjoy that heel turn last week on Dynamite.
Oh, the Billy Gunn. Sean Waltman is pretty cool.
Sean Waltman's a very cool guy.
Yeah.
So Karrion Kross murdered John Morrison in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. This included Morrison shooting him with the dripstick. And then he beat him with the cross jacket. So he's still murdering guys, but man, does this guy feel flat.
It's they're pushing him really strong. Again, they're treating him right from this point on. Is it working though? Are these fans looking at Karrion Kross as the monster that I think they want to actually portray him now? I don't get that sense, And number one, I sound like a broken record, but it's the terrible start that he got off to, and it's the joke of a look that he's got. It's hard to take a man seriously in suspenders.
This guy's also a great promo, and they've taken that away. Like, this Moist TV segment was brutal.
You mean Kross is a good
Karrion
promo?
Kross.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, this was a guy, like, his talking was a big asset to him. I mean, he's not the most dynamic wrestler in the world, but he was a very good talker. And instead, he's doing just this this segment just did nothing for me.
Well, in their minds, this is how you create your monsters. You have him destroy the water guy.
I mean, he's running through guys, but you're also throwing in, like, these dripstick spots. But I don't know. I just don't really feel that there's a whole lot to him. But over time, I mean, maybe these 2-minute matches are, like, traditionally that works for a heel to just kill guys. But it's for the reasons you listed. I think this one has been more difficult. Nia doesn't want to waste her breath on Charlotte Flair, and no one has ever handled Charlotte like she did last week, I'll say. And she's going to finish what she started and win the Raw Women's title.
I felt there was, like, veiled acknowledgement at the
Oh, they were trying very hard. They were trying very hard to play off of last week and market this as, we don't know what's going to happen here.
Well, so Nia in her promo says Charlotte freaked out last week. She just freaked out because she couldn't handle, like, that I was manhandling her or something. Or
everyone freaked out. It was a terrible match.
Yeah, well, this was the main event of the show.
In some ways it was. I mean, it was very clear they were trying to push this as what's going to happen. Last week was out of control. What's going to happen? I mean, if you're going to book this rematch, I mean, then you might as well play into that because of the discussion that last week generated. It was sizable. The bell rings and Shayna is out with Nia, and she doesn't know if Nia has what it takes to beat Charlotte. This was, like, I guess by default, Shayna Baszler is the babyface in this whole equation, but this was so confusing. Like, we had two heels in the ring. Shayna was just ungodly annoying throughout this thing, but I think you were supposed to sympathize with Shayna because you're not supposed to like Nia, but you're also not supposed to like Charlotte, but if the two rule each other out, you're to default to Charlotte. This was just impossible to just compute what was the desired reaction.
Yeah, you might have a better chance calculating John Morrison's career in decades.
So they try to, like, throw hands at one another, and the ref's getting in the middle. John McCarthy here, and
yeah, they were this time. They were, like, trying to make it look like a messy hockey fight. There's a lot of talking here. Charlotte's, like, upset that Nia pulled her hair. It was,
they were doing, like, a cooperative version of the parts that fell apart last week.
Yeah, and I don't fault them for doing it. I think if you're going to play off of the controversy from last week, you expect them to do something like this. But they didn't do it throughout the whole match.
No,
they dropped it.
Yeah, to me, it kind of felt a bit contrived, just the way they were going about it. To me, you do need a bit of an air of believability that this one lacked for me. She dares Nia to pull her hair, and then Charlotte rolls to the floor and gives her the suck it sign and tells Nia to kiss her ass and grabs the belt, and Shayna gets in her face. Nia then yanks her back in, and this is where we pretty much just had, like, a standard match for the rest of it. Jax stopped a figure four, Flair did a moonsault off the top to the floor, and then Baszler comes over and nearly strikes Nia, but pulls up at the end. Nia hits the avalanche, and then Baszler gets onto the apron, distracting Nia, which leads to Charlotte hitting a natural selection off the turnbuckle and pinning Nia in 8:53, which seems to put this program to bed after two matches. We spin off Nia with Shayna, and Charlotte with Alexa Bliss, which was the two programs that we originally had until we detoured here. I mean, this was better than last week. That goes without saying, but I still didn't think this. These two have a very awkward chemistry together.
Sure. Yeah. I thought it was all right. You know, it was like I think a decent follow up to what was a pretty controversial moment from the week prior. What was interesting was just the booking here and how they extinguished this very quickly. And I wonder how much of that just has to do with like whether or not Nia was positioned as a backup for Alexa, or if this was the plan the whole time to just delay this by a week by having Charlotte, your champion, lose. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but something tells me there are probably a few things at play here.
I would imagine that there probably was. It just did seem like a waste of a Charlotte Flair loss, which, I mean, it's kind of silly to look at a champion losing a non-title match because it happens so often. But anyway, this felt like the conclusion of it. Alexa appears on the screen, inviting Charlotte to the playground. Flair won't play her mind games, so the lights go out. Alexa is in the ring with Lilly and points to the title. And when Charlotte asks, "You want a title match?" the whole place starts chanting, "Yes." And she states that this isn't your playground, Alexa. It's mine.
You know, I had more than one comment sent to me from listeners commenting on the crowd sweetening, in particular for a segment like this. And it's kind of difficult for me to exactly say, yes, definitely crowd sweetening, or no, definitely. I mean, it's kind of tough to tell sometimes, but I definitely was suspicious throughout this segment. Anytime I think now when you see maybe Alexa or like maybe even the Charlotte Nia segment, it's at least a little bit suspicious because I'm watching at least a little bit more closely. You know, does the crowd match this? Does it not? Again, it's kind of hard to tell, but I do have suspicions.
I mean, the yes chants, like you could see the audience like chanting that.
Yeah, you can, but were they chanting that loud? Because they can pipe it into, like, if they pipe it into the audio in the rooms, people are going to join along. But anyway, again, I
don't think they're
know
piping in
this.
yes chants anymore. I would say like that's probably not the chant that you're piping in.
But the promo segment was designed to elicit yes chants. She deliberately asked the audience, "Should I da 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 da?"
And I think the audience responded as you would think. I can't speak for the rest, but I think the yes chants were natural.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
There was a video package of Reggie in all the various locations, evading R-Truth and Tozawa as we get set for his big title defense inside of a ring against Akira Tozawa. And they went 41 seconds. Tozawa missed a spinning roundhouse kick. Reggie did some flips, running cannonball, and pinned Tozawa. And this was just kind of an update on the 24/7 division. Who else is vying for this championship beyond R-Truth? Well, those names include Cedric Alexander, Humberto Carrillo, Drew Gulak, Shelton Benjamin, and Jackson Riker.
Oh, he's there now. Okay.
He was out there too. And Reggie hit this tremendous dive onto them on the floor. And then as he's running up the ramp, out walks Drake Maverick.
Yeah, 24/7 legend Drake Maverick, which is what I think the response we were supposed to have to this. You know, it's a big moment here.
Yeah,
stood toe to toe with his former rival R-Truth. He did.
Adam Cole back in the Elite and Drake Maverick back in the 24/7 division in 24 hours.
We were wondering if there was going to be a response from the WWE, and this was it. The return of Drake Maverick to the 24/7 division. So, huge. But I'm joking. I sound like a real asshole, but I'm actually really happy for this Drake Maverick, okay? Because, I mean, let's remember, he was cut. Climbed his way back via video, and then I think had like a good little comeback in NXT before he just kind of faded in there. Lost his tag team partner.
Drake Maverick is a great performer. He's a great performer. I just look at like this 24/7 division. It is what it is. I mean, it's just
It's a miracle that this guy even has a role on Raw. Okay, a guy his size, no matter what promo level he's at, like as an active wrestler participating on Raw, this was going to be the only space where he was going to catch Vince McMahon's attention to slot him into a role. So hopefully it works out for him longer this time.
Well, if for no other reason, it will be great to see him back on Raw, so people can, instead of hypothetically asking what would they do with a Darby Allin on Raw, you can see it play out here.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. Darby Allin would probably be pissing himself. He would be pissing his pants.
Is Drake Maverick like the alternate universe Darby Allin?
I mean, to me, he's like the closest parallel we've got on Raw.
Maybe in stature, but certainly not in ability.
Different styles, but as this guy, as an entertainer, should be thriving in a WWE system. But
if we're playing What If, I guess Drake Maverick is what if Darby Allin never got into that car accident? He would have grown up to be Drake Maverick.
Okay, well, we can play the What If WWE version.
Yeah.
Dude drops in the back. She didn't want Eva to bail on their match last week, so that's why she attacked her, and Eva got dewdropped. And her karma is just beginning to come around. She wants a rematch next week, and it is the start of the dewdrop-olution.
They're not even trying. Like,
dude, that sounds like back in the day when we were like spending 45 minutes in the studio trying to come up with a name for these shows, and we would both know.
There's as much effort for that as there is for Rewind to Raw.
Dewdrop-olution.
Yeah. All right. Put it on a shirt. Maybe it'll work.
Back to the Tag Team Turmoil match for the last half hour of the show. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they're all powered up. They're better. They recharged. They're all recovered.
Even playing field. Yeah.
Against Mansoor and Ali. Fine match here. Mansoor would not take advantage of an injured Woods, so Ali tagged himself in. He has no reservations about such a thing. Ali super kicks Kofi in the ribs. Kofi goes for the, this is as Kofi's going for the Trouble in Paradise, misses a 450, and then Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise, Woods with the elbow drop, pinning Ali in 4 minutes, 18 seconds to advance.
Yeah.
AJ Styles and Omos are out. This is where they state that the winners of this turmoil will face RK Bro in Boston next Monday for the tag titles. They got the heat on Woods. Omos is tagged in. He's attacking Woods for about an hour. Kingston flies into the air and gets swatted by Omos. Kingston then lands a Trouble in Paradise on AJ, but he can't get on top of him. Omos has to come from the apron to break this up. And dude, he nearly killed the cameraman coming in. He just knocked this guy as he came in where it was on the shot. He sends Woods to the floor and then lifts up Kofi into position for the Styles Clash. And New Day is eliminated in 12:07 after running the gauntlet in hour 1 and hour 3 of the show.
Yeah, to me, it was a moment that really didn't feel all that big. I mean, because of the break in between, like, it didn't feel like they lost that much. It was a good run, but it also wasn't maybe as hard fought as if it would have been if they went through the whole time.
Well, it was all a precursor for the showdown with AJ and Omos against Bobby Lashley and MVP. And MVP is in the ring, and this crowd in Miami, they all start chanting for MVP. They acknowledge it's his hometown, and then he bails and goes and tags in Lashley. And this builds up to Lashley and Omos getting in the ring together.
Yeah, crowd reacted really big for it.
They treated this like a big deal. There was a Bobby chant. Omos looked like a giant in here next to Lashley.
He is. He's big.
Omos is big. Lashley tries a vertical suplex, but it's countered. Omos lifts and drops him. and Lashley gets sent to the floor in front of Orton. Styles then leaps off the desk, taking out Lashley and Orton. Omos tosses Riddle into the barricade. MVP is dropped with an enziguri. Riddle is thrown over the desk, and then Styles misses the phenomenal forearm, gets speared by Lashley, and pinned in 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So next week, Lashley and MVP will challenge Riddle and Orton, and it closed with Omos grabbing Lashley and hitting him with a tree slam, which seems to indicate something in the future with Omos and Lashley, and carried AJ to the back. Lashley staggers to his feet and takes an RKO from Orton, as the crowd was pretty hot for this at the end as they went off the air. And Lashley and Orton is the program for Extreme Rules, and we'll do the tag title match next week.
Yeah, so this was a Tag Team Turmoil made to essentially kind of give you a bit of a preview match for the WWE title program at Extreme Rules.
Makes me feel like they're going very hard with Omos in the singles direction.
Yeah, it feels that way too. Can you actually see Bobby Lashley versus Omos in one of the big shows coming up?
The fact they did that tree slam at the end, I think they very much wanted that in your memory of Omos and Lashley having some kind of showdown. I don't know how much of a match you can get out of that, but that certainly felt like something they wanted to be inserted into your head.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when that plays out. I mean, I could see them doing that in Saudi Arabia.
Possible. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're serious about Omos. They continue to push him strong, at the expense of maybe your others, and like guys like New Day are just kind of there to maybe serve the purpose of making Omos look good.
That was Raw. I don't like it. It dragged for me this particular night. I really enjoyed Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. There were elements of the Tag Team Turmoil that worked, and I thought the Miami crowd was enhanced several situations. Got far more into the ending of the show than I was anticipating. So more power to them. But there's a lot of stuff on this show that I'm just having a hard time imagining people are getting that inspired by. But it was an episode of Raw.
I feel like a lot more patient and maybe even a bit more analytical when it comes to like these kind of by the numbers Raws. There's usually maybe a bit more, I don't know, insight to glean from, but I just didn't feel like this had any of my interest today, coming off of this incredibly stimulating, exciting experience to do with the same sport the night prior, and really even beyond that, with like some of the other smaller shows that are happening out there. This just feels like it's such a uninspired, cash cow of a show, like just there to fill time. So I don't.
Did you expect more? Like, obviously they're setting up this tag title match, but beyond that, I mean, next week is their first week against football again. It's not a huge game. It's like the Raiders and Baltimore, but nonetheless, it's Monday Night Football, and typically, like they try to build up that first week against the NFL. Were you expecting something more to combat the NFL next week?
Not so much. No.
The biggest thing that
what could they do?
That's a great question. Is when people look at this and you see the sentiment is that, man, like, you have this alternative product that's really ramping things up. This is really going to force change for WWE. And it's like, okay, name me the 5 things that they're going to do. Like, it's not just snap your fingers and suddenly you're changing the tone of this program, that suddenly characters that have been diminished are going to be overnight. That's not going to be the case. Like, it's long-term stuff that you would have to be changing. But I mean, you can't do short-term big changes. That, like, their short-term solutions are bring back stars from the past, load up Raw with old names. Like, that's their short-term game. With the roster that they have, like, we see the playbook every week, especially on Raw. Like, SmackDown to me feels like it does have a very different feel to it than Raw most weeks, and more to play with. But like Raw, I I think like it's gonna take a lot of work to change like just the interest level. Like look at our feedback way for these shows. It's not like even throwing out All Out.
We have one piece of feedback.
Like it's just I think there's a lot of indifference to Raw, and watching the show tonight, like I could see a lot of people like if you watched that show last night that this was not a night where you were just gonna sit through 3 hours of Raw.
No.
I think a lot of people are having that.
I think for anybody who samples last night's product, like going back to this night, I think you need a product that is doing a little bit more than simply saying, here's some wrestling, you know, like this is an audience that has other options, but I also don't think they're necessarily trying to cater towards that same audience. You know, if you're a fan who has discovered AEW, discovered all the other options that are out there, I think they're not relying on you. I think they're relying on the people that haven't heard of it or haven't, you know, the care to maybe check out the other channel for professional wrestling. They're here to try to capture the casuals that have a routine of every Monday night, 8 o'clock, turning on the show and just having some wrestling on in the background or in front of them. Maybe they're decently entertained even. But, you know, as long as they win the night in their cable ratings, as long as they maintain whatever they're doing on their Tuesday Nielsen's, and I think that's all they care about.
And they will win tonight. And like that is a huge part of this, is that it's not like Raw is slipping either. Like this foundation of people you identify way that it is routine or actively engaged in the show, it's at a very healthy level, like pre-NFL. Like I do assume we'll see some kind of hit next week, but like they are going to do their 1.8, 1.9 million viewers. And like, that's a very healthy number that they do on Monday. I don't know if it's necessarily growing this number that you're attracting new fans, but when you're doing that, you don't necessarily have a gun to your head that you have to be increasing it. When you're topping your cable charts every week, like they will be behind the NFL next week, but that's a given. But it's still going to be a healthy audience for them, and that is the reality of Raw being it is still the institution of professional wrestling.
It's the Kleenex of professional wrestling. It's the Xerox of professional wrestling. You know, when you're somebody who doesn't care a whole lot about pro wrestling and you simply want that little fix, because for whatever reason you need it, you're nostalgic for it that night, then you know to go to the WWE. You're not looking for premium professional wrestling. You're not critical of what you see as much. And it's for that reason that I think WWE, even if they are trying to remedy, if they even give a shit about what AEW is doing right now, which I don't think they care as much as we think, but I think if they do, I mean, those remedies are not going to be focused on what these hardcore, diehard wrestling fans, AEW fans are looking for. Their remedies are going to be things like fixing the set, you know, maybe adding some screens to the set, changing things that only might, you know, inspire a casual fan to stick onto this channel in between commercial breaks for a football game.
And those things matter. Like they do matter. And we saw that going from the Performance Center to the Thunderdome.
They matter, but they will not. But they don't. The type of person that listens to this podcast doesn't give a shit about that. You know, the type of person that listens to this podcast cares about the core product, and that's whether or not the shows are entertaining, the storylines are entertaining, the wrestling is entertaining. And that is the type of fan that's slowly fading away, that is finding a home with products like AEW that are directly answering some of those missing qualities about the show.
2.6 out of 10 for Raw tonight.
Our lone piece of feedback, and thank you so much, Kate from Montreal, for being a trooper, giving us a bit of content here to
the last one standing.
Yep. You want to read it, John?
Wrestling fans are not complicated people. Generally speaking, after 3 hours, they felt very overthought and relied on a healthy dose of piped-in chants. The visual of Lashley and Omos squaring off was enough to make the live crowd lose its collective mind. I didn't hate the tag turmoil stuff because it was at least trying different tactics, but I hope that the powers behind the scenes could see that sometimes easy stuff is the strongest. Not sure if it was just me, but a lot of the promos tonight seemed cringe, even by Raw standards. I do not disagree there. There were several that I thought the same. However, while watching what I thought was the worst segment, I had a sort of revelation. Miro and Karrion Kross are the same basic character with similar in-ring styles, and the difference in the way they come off is 100% down to the booking, writing of the companies they work for. That crystallized a lot of the difference between WWE and AEW for me.
Yeah, you can absolutely draw parallels and comparisons. I almost feel like it's so entirely different products at this point that I almost feel weird like comparing Raw to AEW sometimes. I think they're aiming for different demographics, different types of people. It's just so different.
Yes, he's going to Karrion Kross is going to redeem these dripsticks.
He should probably cut some promos talking about his wife. We haven't seen her in a long time.
Significant other.
Oh, significant other. Okay, they're not married yet.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us for Rewind to Raw, the Labor Day edition of the show.
It was a labor. The labors of Raw.
The labors of Raw have concluded. And we are the worse for wear. Wai is not gone yet. He is back on Tuesday. Him and WH will be reviewing Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
right.
You got the proper pronunciation. That is correct.
I look forward to listening to this because I don't know. This is strictly in theaters? Is this a Disney Plus option?
It is not. It is a strictly Disney or theatrical release, but I think it's a 45-day theatrical window, so you're just going to have to wait a bit.
Okay. I look forward to this movie. It seems like phenomenal reviews. I look forward to hearing you and WH review this film. So that will be up Tuesday for members of the Post Wrestling Cafe. And then Wai and I are back Wednesday night, 10:15 Eastern for Double Ice Cap and Espresso patrons, reviewing Dynamite, which is set to feature Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes, Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley in Cincinnati, and an appearance by Ruby Soho, and I would imagine they will be announcing several other attractions over the next day or so. The big one being Danielson, Cole. I think at minimum, do you think we're getting everybody on Wednesday?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the first show back. You know, it's 2 hours. I think everybody wants to hear from all those people.
And they have to start building immediately, like the Newark and Arthur Ashe Stadium cards. Like that, I think by the end of Wednesday night, you've got to have that card for Newark. And I think you've got to have at least the top, if not top 2 matches for Arthur Ashe Stadium established. I would think you'd want 2 weeks of lead time on that to really build that up and make those matches feel significant. But we will see. They have a lot coming up this week, including Rampage on Friday. So that's going to wrap it up. Thank you to all of you for joining us late tonight, and we'll speak with you later this week. Postwrestling.com is where you can check out everything. Good night.